And what's really interesting about this is because, like, you know, Rhiannon and I kind of have some very close family members to us that have, you know, have struggled with chronic homelessness, struggled with, you know, drug addiction and overdose and stuff like that. So, you know, this is it's very close to our hearts and to our families. Like, I have a cousin of mine who has lived homeless for probably about as much of his life that he's, like, over half of his life that he's lived now. Like, he's just been chronically homeless.
He's kind of made that choice, though.
Yeah, part of it is definitely his choices, and part of it is, you know, whatever it is keeping him from doing what he needs to do to stay, like, housed.
But, well, and it could be, so, like, there was a study done with rats, like, they put heroin in a water bottle in, like, separate cages. Mm-hmm. And the rats became heavily addicted to it to the point, like, they would just keep drinking and it would die. But then they put them in community where they actually had interactions and everything with her. And rats don't have moral judgments of other rats that use, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so they would put the rats together because rats are community.
Right.
Animals.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, they're pack animals.
And they put a regular water bottle and a water bottle with heroin. And they realized that the addiction went away. Like, the rats who were addicted to heroin stopped.
With just the change of their environment.
The change of their environment and being socialized appropriately. So when you look at, like, how, you know, social media is great, but it isolates us in this crazy weird way as humans that we're not used to. And then, so, like, we have this weird isolation. We enable people to have such easy access to things, right? Like, it's weird. But, like, I feel like if we would just love each other and, like,
well, I think
like when you see somebody like twitching out, like, it's so hard because it's like, do you take a druggie in and help them feel a part of the community and stick with them through all of it? But, like, kind of what they would do in rehab, but who has the time and attention to do that?
Yeah. Especially the systems that are in place where we have to. Yeah. We have jobs. We have things we got to take care of. We got family, friends.
Mm-hmm. I don't think our system is really built.
No,
it's built to enable this type of behavior.
Well, it's not necessarily built to allow, you know, working mothers and, you know, families that have, you know, get pregnant and have a birth. They don't give them enough time to really connect to their child. It's just, you know, get them into the system of daycare and get them back to work. Mm-hmm. You know, we don't have what they call maternity leave, and it's very different in the UK. I think
most other countries have a, like, mandatory maternity. Like, it's not even that, like, they have the option to take it. Like, they have to, because they're like, you have to stay with your child and take care of them.
Yeah, because those first, like, you know, 3-6 months of their lives, like, are really important, and if they don't have the love and attention that they need, they're not going to develop properly, you know, from that age on.
Right.
Yeah. They have to imprint on them. So.
Yeah. The whole, like, subsidized addiction where it's like, oh, if you fit into these categories, then we'll provide subsidized housing for you. We'll provide all these resources.
And then that encourages them to go out and do these things so that they can get housing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you guys, that's what's crazy. That's part of a socialist society. So there are, like, the basic universal income and stuff, like, there's arguments on both sides, right? Mm-hmm. Which is good. But, like, you see how even just giving into people's addictions doesn't empower them to become masters of themselves or to grow or learn.
Right. It sucks. It's one of those, like, you have to experience the shitty shit in order to come back from it. Like, you have to see what it does to your family, and it sucks that, like, you've got to go through that in order to learn, like, oh, I do need to start working on me now. It sucks. It's a really shitty process. Like, yeah.
It is, but it's part of life, right? Like,
yeah,
that's the thing. This is what's so hard is I think people, easy times create soft men.
Yeah.
Soft men create hard times. Hard times create hard men. Hard men create easy times. So it's like a cycle, right? And so like if it's almost like if things are too easy, we have this weird as humans, this weird thing where we create conflict or whatever because
almost like a sense of entitlement because of like now that you have the convenience, it's like now I have a right to it, right? Like
Well, and that's
because it forms a different kind of problem, really, because a lot of problems, so like the way humans have adapted, so years ago before we had civilization, we had to have survival instincts, and now we're living in this time where you don't really have to have that because everything is kind of provided, and so you have to just find other conflicts essentially.
Okay, it kind of goes against our nature as human beings because we have that, like you've said in past podcasts, we have that fight, flight, or freeze.
Fight or flight.
Yeah, and we don't really use that like we used to. We're not in constant fear of jaguars like sneaking up on us in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
We're not in constant like need of hunting our own and gathering our own food. So we just do our jobs. We get a currency, and then we use that to provide for ourselves, and we just buy it from the grocery stores. We just don't have that anymore.
So the survival instinct that we have hasn't necessarily gone away. It's just evolved.
It hasn't evolved, though. I think that's part of the issue.
Or not evolved, but like changed and adapted.
Yeah, because human civilization, so most other things, they increase like linear, and so things kind of like match as they go. Humans, we have evolved. Civilization is a better term than humans themselves, have evolved extremely exponentially, and so we haven't given ourselves enough time to actually change
and like catch up to the
because we're not going along that gradual line. We have started and then exploded, because if you think about like technology, every since like the first computer, it's like then 20 years it doubled, and then 10 years it doubled then, and then 5 years it doubles, and it keeps going. And so it blows up like really fast at a specific time, so it doesn't give us chance to actually adjust to that rapid growth.
So if you think about it, like we exercise and we know it has a physiological effect on our brains.
Right.
Like exercise is literally been proven to be the best antidepressant, the best anti-anxiety, all that sort of stuff, right? And we're not concerned by this stuff.
Diabetes.
Well, yeah, but here's the situation. So like when we had to hunt and gather and forage and do all that stuff, our bodies were actually physically working, right?
Yeah.
And so like even people in the blue collar that physically work a lot, like they don't get depressed or super anxious all the time.
Well, they do. I wouldn't say that, but
not as much
as someone with like a white collar job like me and Bryson
sitting behind a computer.
So but here's the thing, like even though our civilization and society has changed, our physiological needs have not. That's why like exercising is so important, food and like that connection is important, and that was even proven in the studies of the rats, like you know what I mean. And so it's interesting because I think the further we advance technologically and have less reason to connect with like the earth, or like the more convenient things become, it doesn't necessarily help the mental emotional piece of civilization. And so that's where we kind of get to these huge breaking points of like, so we create conflict and hard times where we have to like literally grow personally, mentally, emotionally, like just to survive.
It's almost like a coping mechanism we have like kind of made up to like, because of all these convenient things that now like take care of stuff that we used to have to do ourselves. Having all this convenience means for us to actually change, we have to force conflict on ourselves to actually grow.